Greetings, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link virtual studios. I'm Bob Woods. Bryn Tillman is here. Stan is going to be joining us. He's having a little bit of problems getting through the front door of the Social Sales Link virtual studios. We hope that he's able to join us here pretty quick. How you doing, Bryn?
I'm good, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I love that.
Yeah. So let's talk Flywheel and creating content for LinkedIn that's truly successful for you to meet and exceed your goals. It involves more than just writing a post and clicking send. I think that we all know that nowadays. You really need to build momentum with those posts to both capture and retain retain interest rather with your audience. So to that end, we've built this concept of the flywheel effect. So what this does, it gives you a strategic approach, and we all love strategy around here. So this is where each action you take contributes to the momentum of the next action, and that's what gets that flywheel smoking, right, friend?
Absolutely. I love this. And I recently reread the book, The Flywheel Effect, and I recognize how critical that is when it comes to social selling. Often we're like, okay, we tried it for a week and it didn't work. And you're like, yeah, this is about really cranking it up, right?
Mhm.
Getting it up, and it's kind of like popcorn, right? The microwave's going and you're like, when's it going to start to pop? And then
Yep.
when it does, in 20 seconds it's popping like crazy.
Yep.
But you've got a lot of silent times,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of getting it going in the beginning. So that's what we're going to talk about is, how do we get that flywheel pumping?
Yep. And you get it going and get it flying. So before we get started, and I'm going to bring these up now, we have a free ebook associated with this that, let me see, I've got to get to the design. No, it's in captions. I should have. We got thrown a little bit with Stan not being here at the very beginning. So, the free ebook, it encompasses everything that we're discussing today. It's at socialsaleslink.com/flywheel. Socialsaleslink.com/flywheel. We'll have that in the show notes if you're listening to us on the podcast. If you're viewing us live, you see the address on your screen as well as a handy dandy QR code that will not bring you up the most recent menu for your favorite restaurant. This will actually take you to the ebook. So that's just great.
Which is yummy.
Oh, yes. Ours is yummy, but in a different way. So with that, um, let's see. We have like five different things to talk about, and then there's like a wrap up thing at the very end. So number one is it has to resonate rather and spark curiosity. So this
This is
speaks
huge.
directly to the actual content that you are putting out there, right, Bryn?
Yeah, so let's start with that, right? So, and actually we typically say the content needs to do five things, but it absolutely needs to resonate. We are in a world where everything is noisy, right? There's so much content out there. If you go to your news feed on LinkedIn, half of it's ads and most of it is stuff that you may not be interested in. But when you're scrolling, you need a scroll stopper, and that often along with an image is going to be that I go, oh, I see my title, I see my industry, I see something that goes, this is for me. That's the resonate piece. The second piece is it needs to create a curiosity that gets you to say, okay, now I'm willing to click see more, or I see that this is for me. And in the first line, I now see that this is something I'd be interested in diving into. The other three elements is I need to teach them something new because if it sounds like everyone else, who cares? So there's got to
Mhm.
be a new aha moment. The fourth thing is what I just learned. I need to start thinking about how does this apply to me in my situation? And then it needs to create a compelling moment, moving them from lurker to engager. So your content the flywheel effect will start with great content that absolutely addresses the challenges or gets your buyers thinking differently.
Absolutely, 100%. So with that kind of dovetails really well into the second thing, which is inviting the right people to engage with, because you don't want to have just anyone coming in. I mean, anyone can come in and that's fine, but the people that you want to attract is um, is the people who you really want to have conversations with. So, the algo is the algo anymore. You can't just click send on a post and expect everyone you know and those people you don't know to see it. If anything, the initial hours of engagement are key to a post's overall success. We've been seeing that for a little while now. Richard Vanderbloom, who is a master at keeping track of the LinkedIn algorithm, continues to see this. But we have to almost take it away from the algorithm to a certain extent, because a lot of people out there, they do want to use the algorithm to get their message out as wide as possible. You really want to be that micro broadcaster, as I used to call it once upon a time. I don't know why I haven't used that phrase lately,
It's
but
a good one.
that's what a
Micro influencer, we talk about
micro
all the time.
influencer. Yeah, that's it. That's the phrase thing. So to kickstart interest and to get that flywheel moving faster, because that's what we're talking about. We want that sucker smoking. You need to invite your ideal audience to engage early in the process, and that is vital. So, to do that, identify your first degree connections who align with that ideal customer profile, or what we call the ICP. You've probably heard that in other places as well. Then, after you share the post, reach out with a personalized message to someone with that select group of individuals who find value in your content. And here's like a really ultra quick example. Hey, whatever your name is, I just share, or whatever their name is, I should say, I just shared a post about topic. I really value your insights. Does this align with what you're seeing in your industry? It can be that simple, especially if you're really inviting a lot of people. You probably want it to be simple so that you could just keep going with that. And that's, excuse me, that's because sending these kinds of personalized message, it really conveys respect for their opinions, and it especially opens the door for productive conversation. And I'm going to insert our line here, without being salesy. So one of the things that happens, though, it actually should prompt LinkedIn's algorithm so that it does start to spread out a little bit more. And also, the people who you're hopefully engaging with your content, their audience, their networks will see that as well. So, this not only brings you more eyeballs, it also promotes you as a thought leader, expert, whatever you want to call yourself, to more people who you don't even know. So I think all of that's fantastic.
I love that. And yeah, and it's easy to do. A lot of people don't recognize that you can blind copy up to 10 people at a time. So
Yep.
you can use the little paper airplane at the bottom of your post and put in 10 folks, make sure that you're sending it separately. At this point, you can't use their name, but you can still say, hey, as an industry expert or as someone who's also interested in X, Y, and Z, I'd love your insights. I love that. Another thing that you can do is your content could be in a poll form and you can reach out and ask people to vote on a poll. That will often get momentum going, right? When you've got
Yep.
polls going out there. So I love that. Let's go on to number 3, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Numero tres is responding and expanding the conversation. So we touched on that a little bit before. Now the flywheel really gets going because people will see that you are active in the content that you post. I can't tell you, Brent, how many times I see people who post stuff and they start getting comments and things like that. Some of them are really good too, and you never see the post author come back. I mean, you want to talk about throwing sand into the gears of the flywheel. That is a guaranteed way to really just bring things to a screeching halt. And if you've ever been in a car where the engine freezes, it's not a good thing. Definitely not at all. So you really and this one's pretty simple. I think you need to respond to people in conversations in those conversations thread. You need to expand the conversation as well. So that could be, noting what the person who initially responded said, maybe ask a question, maybe add a little bit to the conversation so that you can continue that conversation. I mean, it's
So I
actually
love the ask the question. That's where I was going to go.
yeah,
I think that's a really important one. I think it's so someone says, this was a great post. Thanks for sharing. Right now, you respond with, appreciate the kind words. What stood out to you the most? What resonates with you? How do you see this applying? Right. And now you've got momentum on that post because they're going to respond. And so the posts that do exceptionally well often are when there's 3 or 4. So there's a comment, and then the author comment, and then that person comments again. And so LinkedIn, that's triggering LinkedIn to know that, this is active, and there's response here and people are really interested. So that will actually, the micro flywheel inside your flywheel, that will get that particular piece moving, right? And so yes, I think you hit the nail on the head with, respond back and then ask another question.
Yep. So, and then in our ebook, which is at socialsaleslink.com/flywheel, we go into more detail about all this stuff too. So if you're really interested in this, we recommend that you download that because there are some things in there that we're not talking about as well. It's a really, really good accompanying piece to have up in your planning, in your strategies, and everything else, so that you're really taking advantage of this, because all this flywheel stuff, all of the little gears that we're talking about, you can almost view each of these steps as like a gear that contributes to the flywheel turning. Ooh, I like that. And I
I
got that
like that a
too.
lot.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that too. So, with that, let's go to number 4, which is engaging before you post. So we're gonna kind of go back in time just a little bit here, and with engaging with other people before you even post. And this also goes to our 10-to-1 ratio, where for every item that you post, you should engage with at least 10 other people's posts before you post. Not only does that help you spread your own word, and obviously when you spread your word, do it in a very value added, thoughtful way. Don't go on, spamming comments and things like that. I will physically come out and choke you. I'm just kidding if you do that. But yeah, and Stan's not able to join us physically because of his tech problems, but he is in the chat room. And don't post and ghost. That is the best way to put it, I think. And a lot of that has to do with that engaging before your post. The other advantage that you get to that is that LinkedIn likes that as well. So LinkedIn will see you as more of an authority, and then it will actually boost that post prior to you even, well, once you post, because you've done the work ahead of time. LinkedIn should pick it up and amplify it.
So yeah, so I love that, and and that's that post and ghost is for number 3,
Yep.
where we've got to like get that momentum going in conversations. But I'm going to come back to the engage before you post. You had said the 10-to-1 ratio, which I think is so important. You want to make sure a couple of things. Number 1, that you are engaging with people that you want to see your content, right? That is so important because literally you're telling LinkedIn these people are of interest. And if you are interested in their content, LinkedIn is going to assume that they're going to be interested in yours. So, really important. Another one is make sure you're engaging with other authors that are attracting the people that you're interested in engaging with. So just make sure you're not competing directly with them, because it could feel like you're poaching a little bit. And we don't want to go in that direction.
Right.
But for example, every Saturday morning, I attend Mark Hunter and Meredith Elliott Powell's Sales Logic podcast live on LinkedIn, 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings Eastern, for a lot of different reasons. One, I always have some takeaways and some really cool things, but the people they attract are people that I want in my network and that would be interested in my content too. So I have met friends there. I've got clients that are showing up there now. But the bottom line is, this is a wonderful way for me to attract a lot of the right people at, from someone else's content. So engaging prior to sharing content is a great way for them to show up and have that content.
And I am laughing because we just put up a quick comment from the chat room. So is pre-engagement for before posting considered unghosting? I
So
like.
I think there's a little bit of a difference, but Chris, I love that.
Yeah, I love
So
that. It's great.
so pre-engagement is about you leveraging your network, for you making them feel seen, right? When you're engaging and then they start to see your stuff. We typically will say, or Bob, I think, coined it, the post and ghost, many, many, many eons ago, which was basically that you keep engaging on your content. It's not like just come in and go. So
Yep.
Stan, thank you very much, added engage before and after your post. So
Yep.
not just before. Good update there. Engage, engage, engage. 10 to 1.
Keep that flywheel smoking. That is exactly what it's all about. So it's a very good way to get into our last one before we have a wrap up point, and that's about staying consistent and letting the flywheel compound, because flywheels, they don't go forever. You do need to put energy into them, and the energy that you're going to put in is obviously with everything that we've talked about, because as we all know, one post is not enough to change the game. It ain't even close. Real growth comes from consistency and commitment. So, what you want to do is cultivate a pattern of interaction with your audience's members by regularly engaging with them and sharing valuable content. So, that's your own content as well as what we had just talked about, engaging with their content as well with that 10 to 1 rule. Because your efforts, when you do that, your efforts will compound over time as you establish and then continue with this routine. And that's why it's called a routine. So, train your network to expect that you'll be publishing new content. Train your network that you will be in their content as well, adding value to it, making them look good, bringing true, authentic content to them. Because you know something? As you train them, they'll even start to look forward to it.
I
And,
love that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if
that's
I
great.
could just yes and to that, schedule your content. So you may say, well, how do I keep that consistency going? Well, internally, LinkedIn is a little tiny clock at the bottom of all your posts where you could say, so for me, every Wednesday, my newsletter goes out. And I think around 9 a.m., I can't even remember, but it's at the same time every single week, there's a new newsletter coming out. I am not available to publish at 9 a.m. every Wednesday,
Mhm.
but it's scheduled. And typically I'll schedule 8 or 10 weeks in advance.
Yep.
So consider, if you want that consistency and that compound, put an hour aside every quarter and put out some kind of content that's consistent once a week.
Yeah, definitely. And then, just keep in mind that as you're scheduling, you are going to be want to be around ahead of time to fulfill that 10 to
Respond.
1 rule. One nice thing that you can do is if you've got a post coming up on Wednesday at 9 a.m. and you're like, "Oh, that's not going to work because I don't have time ahead of time," but you have time from 10 to 11 and then post at 11. You can go in and adjust the schedules as well.
Perfect. I love that. That's really good.
Yep.
And put time in your calendar to engage.
Yep.
So, Bob,
That
so much fun.
So much fun. We need to talk about one more very quick thing, and that is actually in the ebook. It's called the bigger picture section, and that's just all about building a community. So, I mean, it's really simple. You are building a community of the people who you want to talk to when you do everything involved with the flywheel. And imagine being I don't want to say the star necessarily, but the leader of the community where people look to you for not only this content, but they should also feel free to reach out to you directly for like advice and things like that. That way you can get conversation started. And I mean, building a community, it's a simple concept. It does take time to do, and basically it involves everything else with the flywheel. But building that community is really your ultimate goal because not only you might start, maybe a direct sales conversation with them. If not with them, they can give you recommendations and networking into other people. I mean, there are all kinds of benefits that you can get from building this community.
Amazing. I love this. Yeah. And your network is your net worth.
Yeah, love it.
Anyway.
I love
All
it.
right, my friend, let's
All
take this
right.
in for a landing.
Yeah, so the free ebook again is at socialsaleslink.com/flywheel, socialsaleslink.com/flywheel. And thanks for joining us for this episode of Making Sales Social Live, whether you've been with us live or recorded via our podcast. We do these live sessions every week, so please join us. If you're listening to us on our podcast and you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that. And, we like likes and comments all over the podcast universe, whatever you want to call it as well. So if you'd like more information, go to socialsaleslink.com/podcast. And when you are out and about this week and every week, be sure to make your sales.
Social. Hey, I did it all by myself.
You
Okay.
did, but I heard Stan somewhere chiming in, at the same time saying it. So thanks, everybody.